used to work for Option 1 Mortgage, and one of our values was to anticipate, stimulate, and embrace change. Anticipate that change was going to be sourced from somewhere else. Stimulate, like I'm the one who's going to be stimulating change. And then embrace that change no matter where it comes from, as long as collectively we have agreed to that change. High involvement and collaborative change is the best way to increase people's commitment to change. Meaning that the more we work with the people within our organization, the more that we invite them into the process, the more buy-in, ownership, and participation we'll find when we're working in our said profession, the business continuity world. Hello, my name is Phil Lambert. I've been in the industry for about 25 years. And for those who don't know me, I am the founder of Ripcord Solutions about 15 years ago, after having spent about 12 years working with 2 different Fortune 300 companies. Ripcord Solutions is a multimedia resiliency training company, meaning that we design, develop, and publish trainings that you, as a professional practitioner, would use as a tool to train the rest of your organizations. Now, I can tell you to date, we've probably developed well over 400 trainings for our clients. Something that's new to Ripcord is the Lambert Learning Institute. I've decided to go back to my roots and help practitioners train. So I'm all about helping you to do your job well and to be successful at what you do. It's fairly new, but hang on. Over the next 3, 4, or 5 months, you're going to hear a lot about the Lambert Learning Institute. I mentioned that Ripcord Solutions is all about developing tools that you would use to train the rest of your organization in business continuity, disaster recovery, and crisis management. Visit our website to learn more about what they look like. I guarantee you they are incredibly effective, and they make your job a whole lot easier in trying to establish buy-in, participation, and ownership of the business continuity process within the business units themselves. I hope that this response to the COVID-19 pandemic is kind of toward the end. I have a feeling that we're still in the middle somewhere, that we still have this long response to this particular pandemic yet to be executed, in a sense. I'm going to talk a lot about COVID-19 and give some people an opportunity to be able to expand their reach, to be able to establish themselves as trusted advisors, and to be able to contribute to what the company is doing today to not only work through the crisis, but to continue to build their organization. These are 2 powerful quotes that I read, especially that first one where we sense a toxic combination of inaction and paralysis in companies being able to assess the situation and to begin to plan what those steps are in moving out or responding well to this particular event. Well, you know, that really is your job and my job. And we need to find a resolution to that. We should be contributing mightily to the response to this COVID-19, because it's not something that has not been on our radar. It has been on our radar, and we have been developing pandemic plans. We never thought that it would be a 100-year pandemic. But here we are. So let's get to work. I'm the kind of professional practitioner that doesn't do a lot of the work, to be honest with you. It's the people in the business units and who have responsibility for those functions and processes, the ones who actually do the work. Okay, so as a professional practitioner, a lot of times we'll develop the plans, we'll do exercises, and then we kind of sit back and we want to be there for them. And if they ask us, we'll be there. But I'm going to tell you that you should be proactively involved in what's going on. If you're not invited to a meeting, you should be there anyway. And you should always bring with you whatever it is that you know about business continuity and crisis management so that you can contribute, because you'll have insights that no one else has. You'll have the ability to ask questions about people's assumptions that things are going to happen just like this, where we know that that probably is not true. And then you're going to know quite a bit about the situation at hand because we have done our homework. We have read things. We have talked to other practitioners about what they're doing and what they're finding that works and so forth. So get involved and share who you are. So you, in every meeting, you bring your best and do your best every day. This workshop is about change. Here are 4 game changers that I have found recently, actually, and especially during this COVID-19 response. The number one is that we should be a trusted advisor, not just during the crisis, but every day. We should develop a team of teams. We should consider ourselves as a service and not a product. 2 different types of delivery models. And we should understand what the principles of implementation or develop a radical implementation for the COVID-19. Now we're going to get into each one of these here in just a second, but I hope you've actually downloaded the presentation so that you can actually take notes as we're working and walking through each one of these. Now these things will develop a tapestry of resiliency for your organization. So let's get started. So let's talk about the trusted advisor. Well, the trusted advisor wants to develop what? Trust and influence, of course, right? So there's 3 major categories that I look at when we look at trust. 1, we want to project a genuine interest in what people are doing within the business units. Even as we're developing their plans and we're working with them about their response strategies and exercising, we want to be genuinely interested in who they are, what they do, and what causes their success. So let's take interest in who they are and what they do. We'll also want to take interest from a corporate perspective on the success of the company itself. We want to learn how we make a profit. We want to learn what takes away from that profit or limits that profit moving forward. We're going to want to have coffee, donuts, lunch, whatever it is with some of the senior leaders, those who you can have access to one way or another. We also want to listen carefully. One of the best ways to build relationships is actually asking questions that you're interested in knowing the answer to. If you're just asking questions, you're not really paying attention and not interested, don't ask the question. But if you're genuinely interested in asking a question and the response to that question, then ask the question and provide powerful insights sometime into the things that they're having problems with. And then offers today's insights and the situational awareness. So in other words, stay updated on what's going on. The second thing is to have some business acumen. There is no time in the history of business continuity that I know of that's a better time to learn about business acumen excuse me, than right now. We're working from home. We've got some extra time. We're not driving back and forth. We're not going out to lunch. I mean, everything is done pretty much within the four walls of the home, or at least our neighborhood. So take some time to learn about business acumen if you're not quite sure what that is. And again, that goes along with the genuinely interest, get to know the business. How is it run? How is it different? What is the culture like? How is it different than the competition? Be a leader within the company without having the title. In other words, you're not managing a whole lot of people, but be there, be involved, ask questions, and when you come up with an idea, throw it out there. All they can do is look at you a little weird or say no, but we can get away with that. That's no big deal. And then empower up, meaning that you're helping people to be successful, those who are on top of you and those who are below you. I didn't particularly like that, on top of you or below you, because I like flat organizations personally, but empower up means that you're helping everyone that you can, no matter where they are within the organization, to be more successful because of what you have contributed to them and to their business units. And then the last one is you, my friend, are the message. Who else is going to spread the message other than you? So again, empowering up. Have some intentional thinking sessions. Get people together. Have some coffee and donuts again if you want. Nobody eats donuts much anymore, but bagels maybe, right? Okay, so anyway, get together and just have an intentional thinking sessions. When you email them, have 2 powerful questions that you want to, in just 10 or 15 minutes. It doesn't even have to be that long. Just get people talking. You'll learn a lot. Bring your passion with you. And what I mean by that is you can wear passion anytime you decide to wear passion. Because passion is not something that all of a sudden people have. People intentionally can wear passion about anything they want to. And again, if you don't speak the message, who else will? If you're one of the ones who are a little intimidated and are anxious about attending these meetings, I'm in the same boat as you are. I was so intimidated by the senior leadership and the middle management that I didn't even communicate with them at all. So let me give you an easy way to feel at home in these meetings. You only have to ask one thing. Is this the most important thing right now? It's called the win strategy. What's important now? Because if we look at that toxic combination of inactivity and indecision, what's important now will always bring to the surface what's important now, right? Okay. A lot of people have a hard time doing that. They get into the musha and they do this and they're doing all of these other kind of things because what is important now is to produce a certain outcome. What is that outcome that we want to produce right now? So keep people focused on specific objectives based on a timeline by continuing to say over and over, what's important now? That'll help. So let's talk a little bit about the team of teams concept. Well, business continuity, and I know you've been told this, is a team sport. We should be building relationships all over the organization. We should also have a BC, quote, committee, I like to look at it as an advisory board of people scattered from different parts of the organization that's going to help us to continue to bring significance to our program. But as you can see on the screen, we're building relationships with people who will need to form a team of teams in order to respond to the event. Once the event occurs, doubly difficult to build these relationships because they're focusing on responding to the different events and not through us learning how to respond to those events. So build these relationships, build these teams of teams before the event occurs as we move forward. So you've seen this legacy standard for crisis management. You see that on the screen. You might have part of this activated and has had it activated for several months now. But this is not going to be good enough for this particular crisis. We're going to have to add a couple of teams. So now we have even a bigger team of teams. We're going to have people who will reach out to the staff to ensure that their mental health is doing okay. When I was in the Marine Corps, we spent a whole week on being a prisoner of war, and being locked down and isolated reminds me of what I learned in that class. We're also going to have a medical advisory team that keeps up with all the latest from the CDC and the WHO and the local authorities, especially at the state and county levels. We're also going to have more than just a crisis manager. We're going to have a team who are leading all the teams. Because remember, we still have the crisis management team, and we still have all the affected business units who are responding to the particular crisis itself. And then in this particular crisis, third-party partners are huge, because who knows where they are and who knows whether their state is completely locked down, partially locked down. So we're going to need a team of people who follow up with our partners to determine where they are, what their conditions are, and can they meet our demands as we continue our own operations. So you can see that now we have even more team of teams for this particular crisis than we have normally responding to an event. Now I've simplified the communication process. It's 4 different stages. First of all, we want to collect information and data from almost everywhere that we can. We want to assess that data and that information. We want to pause, slow down, decide what we want to do moving forward. Then whatever decisions are made, we want to communicate those out to the people who will actually execute those and then take that actions by doing the activities that the management team wants us to do. And then on an ongoing basis, we're always monitoring, we're always finding out what works and what doesn't work. We're always wanting to know what's important now, and we'll make adjustments when things aren't working as we would like or as expected. When COVID-19 first hit back in February and March timeframe, to be honest, I had a hard time kind of wrapping my head around what needed to do. I had built some pandemic plans many years ago, but I really haven't researched and studied up on those plans since then. So I actually had to take a couple of days sitting back and says, okay, what am I going to do as the business continuity practitioner for the company. And so I've got 7 different areas that I wanted to focus on almost immediately. One, I wanted to coordinate planning and monitoring company-wide, whether I was in one building in downtown or in the suburbs, or if I had branches all around the United States by the hundreds. I wanted to plan and monitor everything about the company. I wanted to prevent and control the infection. That's why we put together the medical advisory team. And then I wanted to monitor and revise the response team activities. Goes right along with that communication strategy that I just talked about. I wanted to provide leadership support and any type of logistics they need and that they might ask me to do. I wanted to do the same thing for the operational part of the business or the business unit's functions, provide support and logistics for them. I also felt it necessary that, especially this pandemic, and not maybe for the first month or two, but especially now when we're in our 6th, 7th month of responding to this pandemic, we need to know how well our staff and our other colleagues are doing. How well are they responding to this? Because as my prisoner of war example a few minutes ago, I think it is very, very similar to that, and it does have impact. We're going to get into that a little bit later, actually. And then, are we going to be involved in our community as we respond to this? Or are we just going to be isolated as a company itself? Okay. Here are 7 other action items that pretty much goes along with the list that I just showed you. Again, print out this presentation and you can get these and you can build for yourself, maybe rename them, but you can decide for yourself whether that is going to be important to you. But more important is the next slide, so let's go there. Critically important in an event like this is that we just don't plan for the next day or two. We actually plan for a week, 2 weeks, a month, the quarter, and even the next quarter after that. We really want to determine if this thing gets worse or if this things get better, plans for both of those scenarios. If we can't get things from our third-party suppliers, or if we can, what does that response look like? So, I mean, there's a lot of planning that needs to be done, but just make sure it's not over just today or this week. Make sure that you push that planning out to at least 3 or 4 different levels or time periods so that we can have some options moving forward, okay? What I have listed on the screen is collaboration tools. If you're still just using Outlook, and you're still just using Zoom in its basic format, you're missing the boat. Because there are, well, you can see all the ones on the screen, and there's a lot more than these that you can choose from, simple collaboration tools that are available today. You might be stuck in one of these that your company has chosen, but if your company doesn't have one of these, get IT to get it. It's not that expensive. And use the tool. And not only just, yeah, kind of, all right, I'll use the tool. No, embrace that tool. Learn it better than most everyone else in the company. Almost become an administrator of that tool. You know it so well. Because business continuity is best done face-to-face in meetings. If we can't do that, we've got to increase just sending out emails and just doing Zoom meetings because they don't have that personalization that some of these collaboration tools have. Now, the difference in between those in black and those in red, the red are the higher level reviews, the more people who recommend these particular tools over the ones that are in black. What you see on the screen is my principles of implementation. This is what we would normally do in normal times, okay? This is the actual process or some of the principles that we use when we actually implement a business continuity program. I've talked about a lot of these things before. Not going to talk a lot about them right now, but I can guarantee you one thing: we're not focused on some of these things. We still have these in the back of the mind. These things are incredibly important as far as principles are concerned. And we'll use the ideas behind all of these anyway and any time that we find that they can contribute to what is going on within the company. As I mentioned to you just a few minutes ago, now is a great time to sink into some additional training for yourself that would help you in your career. There's 3 different levels that you'll want to consider: a skill level, competency level, and gaining experience somehow or another. If you're focused on people, then this is going to be one of the most important slides that we'll cover in this workshop. And I saved the best for last. There has been a collapse of community. I don't know whether you ever move from one area to another area and you absolutely know nobody. It's tough for the first year or two to find your place within that community. And since COVID-19, since late January, February timeframe, there's been a lot of civil unrest. There's been political division for a long time. A particular person's community has been shut down. Can't see family members, can't see friends. The entertainment industry has completely shut down. Travel and vacations has been at the best limited or eliminated altogether. I read a psychology article a long time ago said that the average person needs 8 touches a day to stay healthy. 8 touches can be just eye contact with somebody, shaking of a hand, which I hate getting rid of. I love shaking people's hands. Kind of like an elbow to elbow, or just being together, just 8 touches with somebody else. That's why isolation is such a mental health issue. I have a sister that's in an assisted living facility. Can't go see her. I can see her from the window, but that's it. Can't go inside. She can't see anybody. She can't leave. It's tightly closed down for a reason, but we do have to deal with that. We have school closures, which are huge for the kids. And for a month, they can deal with that. 6 months, there's a lot of things happening that we haven't even begun to understand as far as the kids are concerned. And the abuses of being quarantined in the home for such a long period of time. Why do I say all this? Is because we depend on those people to do our business. It is more about people than it is about anything else. And there are impacts and consequences that we as business continuity practitioners should at least understand what needs to happen. Again, not doing it, but ensuring somebody has that responsibility to make sure it does get done. Managers should know how to recognize mental health symptoms that would be prevalent within such a shutdown and the community having been collapsed. I would make training for all my associates who wanted it about parents and how to manage their children, how best to support their children at all ages, maybe 2 or 3 different trainings, maybe one for preschool, another for elementary, and another for junior high school, or college even, kind of things. And you also might want to have a grieving assistant team to help people to grieve, because it's not just people who have passed on that we're grieving about. It's kind of pretty much life in general that we're grieving about. So let me encourage you to ignore the noise and the senseless stuff that we're bombarded with every day. Rise above all of that crap, if you want to look at it that way, and be focused on people and your business operations, because that's what they have asked us to do. And if you want to become really, really good at what you do, work harder on yourself than you do on your job. My name is Phil Lambert. Thank you for spending time with me. It's been an honor to spend time with you.